In-depth analysis and review is a core component from the skill training portion and takes place immediately after listening skill. This component is broken down into two parts, passage coverage and answer justification. And this video will focus on passage coverage. During this component, students review the in-class quiz passage, which helps in understanding the core information regarding the topic. To prepare for this component, you will need the workbook, script, MP3 file, and the answer key or class guide. To teach or simulate this component, you will need the workbook and the MP3 file. This component will be simulated during training.
Okay, good job on the in-class quiz, guys. What we're going to do is we're going to re-listen to the passage and put up a set of model notes on the board. Here we go.
If you didn't get a good night's sleep last night, you weren't alone. It's estimated that roughly 70 million Americans suffer from sleep disorders.
Okay, from what we heard so far, what do you think the topic is, Sharon?
Sleep disorders.
Good. And why do you think that this is our topic?
Because the word sleep was repeated.
Excellent job. Okay, so let's go ahead and continue listening.
Today we're going to look at the...
What was the verbal cue we just heard, Megan?
We are going to look at
Good. And what type of verbal cue is this?
importance,
Okay, so what are we going to listen for next?
the thesis,
Excellent job. Let's go ahead and listen for that.
four most common ones.
Okay, and what is our thesis, Sharon?
the 4 most common sleep disorders.
Good. Okay. Why is this the thesis?
Because it helps predict what the passage will be about.
Okay. Very good. So let's go ahead and listen for these 4 common sleep disorders.
Which are insomnia, sleep apnea, restless leg syndrome, and narcolepsy.
I know that was a lot, but let's see if we could go ahead and identify them. Megan, what were the 4 different sleep disorders?
Insomnia,
Uh-huh.
sleep apnea,
Uh-huh.
restless leg syndrome,
Uh-huh.
and narcolepsy.
Very good. Okay. So knowing all of this, what are the main ideas going to be about Sharon?
The 4 different types.
Good. And what do you think will be our pattern of organization?
List.
And how did you know that?
Because of the number 4.
Good. Okay, so let's go ahead and continue listening.
For each one, we'll take a closer look at
Okay. What was the verbal cue we just heard, Megan?
We'll take a closer look.
Good. And what type of verbal cue is this?
Importance.
Okay, good. And so what are we going to hear next?
Something important.
Okay, good. Let's go ahead and listen for that.
symptoms, causes, and treatments.
Okay. And what are they going to look at, Sharon?
The symptoms, causes, and treatments.
Excellent job. Okay. Let's go and continue listening.
First,
What was the verbal cue, Megan?
First,
Good. And what type of verbal cue is first?
list.
Good. So what are we going to hear next?
The first main idea.
Okay, good.
insomnia.
And what is the first main idea, Sharon?
Insomnia.
Okay, good. And why is this our main idea?
Because it introduces our first sleep disorder.
Okay, good job. Now let's go ahead and go back. What are the major details going to be about? Megan?
The symptoms, causes, and treatments.
Okay, good. So let's go ahead and listen for those major details.
Insomnia is characterized by difficulty falling asleep and maintaining sleep.
And what is our first major detail, Sharon?
Insomnia is characterized by difficulty falling asleep and maintaining sleep.
Good. Why is this our first major detail?
Because it gives the symptoms about insomnia.
Very good. Let's go and continue listening.
Other symptoms include
Okay. What's that verbal cue we just heard, Megan?
Other symptoms.
Good. Okay. So, what type of cue is that?
Addition.
Okay. So what are we going to hear next?
More symptoms.
Excellent job. Let's go ahead and listen for those other symptoms.
waking up too early, feeling daytime fatigue, and irritability.
Okay. Sharon, what are the other symptoms?
Waking up too early, feeling daytime fatigue, and irritability.
Good. Okay. Let's go ahead and continue listening.
Now, insomnia can be acute, or more simply put, short-term. It can also be chronic, that is, long-term.
What are the two types of insomnia? Megan?
Acute and chronic.
Okay. And what is acute insomnia?
Short term.
And what is chronic insomnia?
Long term.
Very good. Okay, let's go ahead and continue listening.
Approximately 1 in 10 Americans suffer from chronic insomnia. There are a variety of causes of insomnia.
Okay. What was the verbal cue that we just heard there? Sharon?
Causes.
Good. So, what are we going to hear next?
Our second major detail.
Okay, good. Let's go ahead and listen for our second major detail.
Temporary insomnia could be the result